hidden in plain sight. If you take a closer look at a certain section of residential Wilkes Street in Alexandria, Virginia, you will see something just slightly out of the ordinary. Here, a historic underground rail tunnel keeps a low profile, which dates back to the 1850s. It once connected Washington, D.C. and Richmond, Virginia, and even continued operation during the Civil War when the route was divided between the two sides. Not only did it survive the war between the states, but it continued all the way up until 1975. Since then, the tracks have been pulled up and it is now a popular place to take a stroll or bike ride. But be warned, there have been claims that it is haunted, with reports of cold spots, phantom sounds, and eerie sensations. A handful of gruesome things happened here during the Civil War, which has been offered as the cause. Join me in a corner of the city once known as Tunnel Town to begin a journey through a different kind of scenic route. All aboard! Hey guys, welcome back. And today it is actually Easter Sunday 2025, and I want to show you something that's behind me. It's called the Wilkes Street Tunnel, and it is this right here. Now, it doesn't really look like a tunnel because we're gonna walk over to the entrance, but it's historic. It was built back in the 1850s, and I'll tell you a bit more about it. But first, since it is Easter Sunday, I wanna introduce you to a friend here. This is my Pokemon Pez dispenser. And I have to remember that it is Easter and I should be getting Easter candy. And I won it with my points at Dave & Buster's the other night. We went there with my group, and as a tour guide, I get a free game card. I get the same things the kids get. Kids get a game card, I get a game card. And I actually pretty much suck at playing the games, but I was able to get just enough points to redeem it for this guy. So I've got myself some Easter Sunday candy this year. But anyway, we're gonna go take a look at that tunnel over there, and I'll tell you a bit more about it in a minute. So it's kind of a weird entry point into the tunnel. As you can see, there's a zebra pedestrian crossway, and then the entrance to the tunnel is right in the middle of all of that. So here we go. I think I weigh less than 7.5 tons, so I think I'm all right. And here we go. Let's get some information plaques. So this is pretty interesting. As I just mentioned, it was built back in the 1850s. And it was meant to connect this area. So we are in Alexandria, Virginia, which is just south of DC, connecting here to Richmond, Virginia. But of course, later on in the 1860s, the Civil War broke out. So this whole railway line was divided between North and South. So the North took over this area of Virginia, and they continued to use the railroad to supply Washington, DC. And then the parts of the railroad that were still controlled by the Confederates, they continued to use that for their needs. And after the war, it continued as a railroad line for the entire original course. But it eventually closed in 1975. They pulled up the railways, and now there's this. They made it into a pedestrian walkway. And it's a pretty scenic area. People like to come here and get their Instagram on, put it up on the gram. It's very peaceful. And the railroad company at the time was called Orange and Alexandria. And this is actually sandstone at the bottom, and then we've got the red brick. We get a better look as we get closer to the light. Yeah, here we go. And then we come out and we're back out in society again, and we've got a little volleyball court and people are playing volleyball back there. And there is the Potomac River there in the background. And here we've got we've got the main information plaque over here. It says Wilkes Street Tunnel. And then here it says, the Wilkes Street Tunnel was part of the Eastern Division of the Orange and Alexandria Railroad, founded in 1848 to promote trade with Western Virginia. The Orange and Alexandria inaugurated its track in Alexandria on May 7th, 1851, with a run from the north end of Union Street to the Wilkes Street Tunnel. Thus, the tunnel linked the railroad to warehouses and wharves along the waterfront. Located nearby, the Smith and Perkins Foundry manufactured locomotives for the Orange and Alexandria and other railroads. The Wilkes Street track continued in operation until 1975, when declining industrial activity along the waterfront no longer warranted rail service. The tunnel is one of Alexandria's few surviving 19th century transportation sites. We've got some photographs of workers putting it all together. Railroad construction workers. This was it back in 1863. And there's some interesting historical stuff down here. It says the Orange and Alexandria line was one of many Alexandria railroads taken over by Union forces at the onset of the Civil War. While this northerly section of the railroad was incorporated into the U.S. Military Railroad, the length of track south of the Rappahannock River remained in Confederate hands. Both sections played a major role in the strategies of North and South, as well as a decisive element in the Confederate victory at the Second Battle of Manassas, or Bull Run. The Wilkes Street Tunnel gave the Union Army access to the wharves for shipping military supplies on car ferries south to Aquia Creek, terminus of the Richmond, Fredericksburg, and Potomac Railroad. All right. And now we will go ahead and see it from the other direction. It's really nice and cool here. Today is really the first warm day in a while. It has been really cold and just suddenly got warm. So it's actually nice. You get a nice cool breeze underneath here. And I can imagine coming down here like in the middle of August when it's really hot and sticky, and then it's just nice and cool down here. Guessing those people just came out of church. They're all dressed up. It's about noon right now on Easter Sunday. There are a few different historic churches in this area. All right, guys, so we're back where we started. I hope you enjoyed that little walk through the Wilkes Street tunnel here on Easter Sunday. And like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. This is Vigoroso, off to the next cool spot. Take care, guys.